材は削ったりペンキ塗ったり他の目的に使えるんですね。
Konnichiwa minasan, Anton in Japan here and welcome to Tokyo Renovation Diaries. In this video I wanted to talk a little bit about 3 things I hate. I know hate is a strong word, but 3 things I dislike about older Japanese houses. And also what I did renovation-wise to fix these 3 things that I'm sure you won't like either. Whenever you talk to someone here in Japan and you mention these things, you always get the answer that, well, Japanese houses, they're built for summers and not winters, which makes them very cold and dark. In this video, I'll talk about those 3 things and how I maintained and fixed them in my Sangenjaya house, this 86-year-old house that I bought last year in Tokyo. If you want to learn more about cheap houses in Japan, check out my book, Free Houses in Japan, now on pre-sale, link in bio. Something I do like though is a good Japanese washlet.
だからですね。やばいね。やばいね。
So this is how the kitchen looked after a week of demolition. Not too fun, right? And this is today.
Finish him!
The first thing that's always bothered me about older Japanese houses is how cold they can get. Unlike Sweden, where houses are heavily insulated to combat freezing winters. Japanese houses historically prioritize airflow. It's fantastic for summer, but winters can be bone-chilling. And here you see me add some 45mm insulation for the walls. Tokyo summers gets up to 40 degrees hot. And then humidity on top of that, making summer the worst time to visit Tokyo. I have my house to finish and I gotta work in this heat. I know they build houses in Hokkaido a little bit different. But in Japan in general, they often use natural materials like the tsuchikabe and wood that interacts with the 4 seasons. These materials allow the house to breathe, adapting to the changing climate of Japan. It's a delicate balance between embracing tradition and enhancing comfort. And that's why I'm here today, working on insulating these walls to keep the cold out and the warmth in. Here you can see me adding 45mm fiberglass insulation. And I know what you're thinking. Fiberglass without a t-shirt and no mask? But I couldn't help it. I tried wearing a mask, I tried goggles, and even a t-shirt that quickly turned damp from all the sweat. Because I'm working in a scorching 35-degree heat. And I needed to keep the renovation moving forward. I waited for a few days to see if the weather was gonna cool down, but it never did, so yeah, I had to keep moving. The fiberglass insulation comes in a roll, as you saw me open in the beginning, and you attach it to the wood beams like this, using a tucker. Now in Japanese measurements, all the wood beams are exactly at a distance of 1.5 shaku, 1.5 shaku, which is approximately 45 centimeters, installed by my talented carpenters Kazuki and Mizukami. If you're thinking about buying an old house in Japan and renovate it, I think you should know, or at least be aware of the shaku spacing. It makes it incredibly easy to install the insulation, as it matches the same width, for example. And speaking of shaku, I've got even more fascinating examples and stories about it in my book, 3 Houses in Japan, the true story of how I make money. DIY renovating abandoned homes. Be sure to check it out through the link in the bio. If you buy and renovate an old Japanese house, you'll be surprised and sometimes a little shocked. When in Rome, as they say, and sometimes you gotta be content and just use what's right in front of you, even though you might know that there is a better way of doing it.
I remember like the old school English stuff we got. Stuff.
Oh, the glass wool, it hurts like crazy.
And you're up.
Next day, and you hear the fan working 100% in the background. Here, Paris and Kevin is helping me out as well, with the remaining part of the insulation for the walls. To buy these fiberglass sheets isn't really expensive, it's just hard with the freight. I think I paid about 50 or 60 bucks for the entire roll of 12 of these, and I needed about 5 rolls for the entire house. There is a good site for building materials called Monotaro in Japanese. Maybe you can't watch it from abroad, but with a VPN, I'm sure you can. On Monotaro, you can buy everything building related that they have in Japan. But these rolls are pretty heavy and they take up a lot of space, so you might end up paying more in freight than you actually pay for the product itself. Take a wild guess what this is. This is my staircase to be.
今日はですね、家北欧ハウスの柱を削ったりします。半端ないでしょ。前と全然比べれないんですね。使ってるのはこれですね。結構粗いものですね。前の状態はこんな感じだったんですよ。リサイクルですね。こんなサンダで木材は違う目的に使えるんですね。今回は一緒なんだけど、
I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around.
A lot of Japanese people who come and visit my house always praise me for keeping a lot of older details, mixing new with old. And it makes me happy, because that was one of the design ideas for this house. Old traditional Japanese and more modern Scandinavian design, wood and white, sunlight and air.
本当にやばいです。今日はですね、なんか動画を撮るつもりではなかったんですけど、まあやってみてからこんな風になっちゃったから動画を撮らないといけないと思ってたからこれをやっています。まあ汚すぎるんだよね。本当にこんな暑い日の中で何の作業するかと思います？木材は削ったりペンキ塗ったり他の目的に使えるんですね。この柱はこの柱は白いペンキ塗るかこのままにするかニスを塗るか、これちょっと暗いと思いますね。これ全部白くしてあと天井も白くすると思います。どう思いますか皆さん？何の色します？
So the first thing I dislike about older Japanese houses, and something I'm sure you will have a problem with if you buy an older Japanese house, is the cold winters. No insulation and leaking windows will make the winters very cold for you. Number 1, insulation. In this video I put it in the walls, and in the previous video I did the entire floor. I'm also a little worried about the windows I decided to keep. I'm also on a budget, believe it or not, and changing out windows here in Japan, if you don't find the right sizes, costs a lot of money, and sometimes you cannot even source the windows. I'm lucky though that all Japanese houses are built with the shaku measurement, ishaku, nishaku, sanshaku, where the beams, for example, are all sanshaku apart. From the middle of it to the next one, it's about 91 centimeters. It's a fun fact, and I'm talking a lot about it in free houses in Japan. Number 2, what I dislike about Japanese houses is the lack of sunlight. And that's why I bought new windows to put in on the backside and also to the garden. I realized Japanese people are more afraid of the sun and to get burnt, which is good. Since moving here, I work as a model. I started putting on sunscreen like every day, every morning in my face, and it kind of works. I think. What do you think? And in order to let more sunlight into my house, I did something crazy on the second floor that I will show you in a few weeks. In order to let sunlight in to the first floor from the second floor. Because I couldn't add extra windows where the kitchen is because of earthquake safety. One, insulation, air sipping through makes your winters very cold. Two, sunlight, there's not enough of them. When you come to Japan, you sometimes see houses where I don't get it. Just a plain wall, no windows at all. And I get it if it's a toilet or, I don't know, a basement, but even my windows here, you see they're not see-through. It's like a toilet window, and all of these windows in my house here are the same. And it doesn't really make sense to me. Okay, a lot of people, you have privacy, but in Europe, America, it's the person watching from outside. That's the weirdo, right? I still don't really get it, but it's the culture here. Where I put in plain, normal windows, I have no neighbors who can watch in. And there are many places where no one can see what I'm doing. I don't really get it. But number two is sunlight. And I want to maximize the sunlight. Sunlight makes you happy.
これは削ってニスを塗って超かっこよくなりますね。これも全部なら汚く見えるんですけどリサイクルができます。違う現場で余ったみたいんで、アントンさんにあげますって言われてて超嬉しいんですね。これを見たらこういうホワイトウッドのものは綺麗に見えるんですけど、値段としてはこれは多分10倍ぐらいするんですよ。こういう木材の部分だ。もうここに入れるだけですね。うわって感じで、こういうところにはボンドとおがくそを混ざって入れるんです。やばいね。汚すぎるんですね。明日も広告撮影で銭湯に行かないといけないんです。まあこれをボンドとおがくそはですね、サンダーを使うとこっちにおがくそが集まってますね。これとボンドを混ぜてここにある穴を入れれば、でまた削ってきれいになります。その後はペンキを塗るから全然気づかないんです。それは多分来月の作業になるとは思いますけど。でやり方としてはですね、こういう出ってる部分を全部取って、あとこういうネジとか全部ハンマーでできるだけ取ります。この3つもやった。で、これは新しい柱ですね。
Number 3. I'm 187 and I don't mind. It's very beautiful, it's very cute. But having a beam 182, because that's the height, with a shaku. Japanese plywood, they come in sanchaku versus rokushaku. So 182 height and then 91 in width. And older Japanese houses have the beams in the tea rooms at about this height. Usually some centimeters left because it's from the center of the wood. So 177, 178 height. So I lowered the floor and I hired the ceiling, as you can see. These three things, two of them you've seen. You've seen the window and now you've seen the insulation. You've seen how I lowered the floor. You've seen how I hired the ceiling. But you haven't seen the last step of how I made a 7-meter ceiling height over the kitchen. The luxury staircase video that I built together with my Japanese carpenter friend Kazuki. It's the start of a beautiful relationship between me and Kazuki, my carpenter, my Japanese carpenter senpai, and we spent a week from the morning till the evening. We spent what, 60-70 hours times 2. And then Hiro-kun came to help out as well. And we created a beautiful staircase. I'm really proud of that one. So please don't miss out. And please have these three things in mind if you buy a cheap old Japanese house. Don't forget to check out my book, Free Houses in Japan, link in bio. The true story how I make money DIY renovating abandoned homes. And if you want to browse some listings in English, check out cheaphousesinjapan.com/Anton, also link in bio. You get 20% off. It's an affiliate link from my friend Michael, who runs that company, and you get a newsletter at home with listings.
やばいね。ごめんなさいね。自分では自分の顔を気づかないんですね。天井の梁ですね。ここに今週来週ぐらいには階段作りが始めるんですね。いいガスマスクが必要。あとメガネもいいんだけど、メガネを使うと今の気温は35度を超えてるから、曇りすぎてて何も見えないから取っちゃったんで、削ったものが目に入っちゃう可能性があるから気をつけてください。その最後の柱もやりましょう。使ってるのは一番粗いやつ、60。40もあったんですけど、使い切れちゃったんで、60。お疲れ様です。今4時間ぐらいではずっとそういうサンダーで、なんかいろいろ削ったりしたから、感覚本当に変ですね。ずっと揺れてたんで、振動というか、ちょっと変な感覚なんですけど、綺麗にしないといけないです。